She leaned in close, wine on her breath, and whispered, "It's a secret, but I want to share him with you." That moment rewrote everything I thought I knew about friendship, about boundaries, about desire. It started innocently, doesn't it always? A late Friday night, curled up on her velvet couch, legs tangled under soft throws, half a bottle of red already gone between us. The air smelled like vanilla candles and rain from the storm tapping at the windows. Her boyfriend, Jason, was out for the evening. We were alone. Comfortable. Or so I thought. I remember watching her laugh, head tossed back, bare throat glinting in the soft light. She was always beautiful, but that night, something was different. Her gaze lingered longer, her laugh was slower, like she was searching my face for something. A question she hadn't asked yet. I should have seen it coming. But I was caught in the warmth of the room, in the way her fingertips brushed mine when she handed me my glass. I chalked it up to the wine. Or maybe I didn't want to admit what I was feeling, that low thrumming heat every time our knees touched. She waited until I was relaxed, soft around the edges. Then casually, like she was talking about a movie she'd seen, she said, "You know, Jason thinks you're stunning." My laugh was immediate and awkward. "What? No, come on." "I'm serious," she said, her voice low, eyes locked on mine. "He's mentioned it. More than once." My heart beat faster. I tried to play it cool, but the rush in my ears betrayed me. "Well, that's flattering, I guess." She tilted her head, watching me. "And what about you? Have you ever thought about him?" My lips parted. The question stole the breath from my lungs. It wasn't the kind of thing you ask lightly, not unless you're ready for the answer. "I mean, he's attractive," I said carefully, feeling the flush rise up my neck. "But he's yours." She smiled, slow and unreadable. "What if I told you?" "That's exactly why I'm asking." The silence was heavier than any storm. My pulse raced. Her words settled into my skin like heat. That's when she leaned in, eyes dark and glinting with mischief, and whispered, "It's a secret, but I want to share him with you." And just like that, the ground shifted. I didn't know if she was serious. This was some kind of game. But my body responded before my mind caught up. A slow, involuntary thrill moved through me. I stared at her, heartbeat pounding in my throat. "What exactly are you saying?" She bit her lip, then smiled like a woman who just opened Pandora's box. "Let me show you." She didn't say anything else for a moment, just sipped her wine slowly, like she was giving me time to catch up. Like she knew the words she just said had cracked something open in me. I couldn't speak. Not because I didn't have 1,000 questions, but because I didn't trust my voice not to tremble. Jason. Her Jason. The man I'd only known through her stories, through casual dinners, through glances I'd told myself not to linger on. And now she was offering him? She leaned back, crossing her legs slowly, her dress slipping higher up her thigh in a way I couldn't ignore. Her smile was cat-like, half innocent, half dangerous. "You're wondering if I'm serious," she said. I nodded barely. "I am," she said simply. "And so is he." That hit me like ice down my spine. He knew. My heart stuttered. "Wait, he already knows about this?" She nodded, lips curving with wicked amusement. "He's been curious. We've talked about it. Fantasized. You come up more than you'd think." There it was, undeniable, out in the open. The strange glances I'd caught from Jason across candlelit dinners. The way his gaze lingered a second too long when I laughed. The memory of his hand brushing my lower back as I stepped through her doorway once. I told myself it was nothing. But maybe it wasn't. I swallowed hard. "So what now? You just invite me into your fantasy?" She stood, barefoot, slow, and walked toward me until she was standing right in front of where I sat on the couch. Her fingers touched my shoulder, feather-light. My skin erupted in goosebumps. Not just fantasy anymore. I couldn't look away. Her touch wasn't sexual, it was charged. Like an invitation written in skin. "You trust me with this?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "I trust you more than anyone," she said. "And I want to watch how he looks at you when he's allowed to." That made something unravel inside me. I didn't know if it was jealousy, desire, fear, or all of them wrapped together in one breathless knot. I imagined his eyes, those slow, deep glances. I imagined her beside us, watching, wanting. But what if it changes everything? I asked because I had to. because I wasn't sure I could put everything back once it was undone. She knelt in front of me, her face so close I could feel her breath against my jaw. Maybe it's supposed to. And then she said something that spun my world off its axis. He wants to see you. Tonight. My heart stopped. My mouth went dry. You mean? He's already on his way, she whispered, eyes locked on mine. And he knows what this night is. The doorbell rang. And everything inside me answered it before I even moved. The sound of the doorbell sliced through the silence like a starting gun. And yet, neither of us moved right away. Her gaze held mine, daring me. Waiting. I could see the thrill behind her eyes. This was no joke. No hypothetical fantasy. This was real. He was here. My body went still, but my thoughts scattered like leaves in a storm. What was I about to walk into? Who was I in this story we were writing? She stood up slowly, smoothing her dress, and without saying a word, padded barefoot to the door. I sat there frozen, lips slightly parted, the wine forgotten in my hand. The room felt heavier now, like the air itself was thick with possibility. A storm in the distance. Something irreversible. Then I heard his voice. Low. Calm. Familiar. Hey, he said, and there was something in that tone I hadn't heard before. Like he knew I was listening. Like he wanted me to be. They murmured a few words I couldn't make out, and then she turned to me, stepping aside, letting him in. Jason looked exactly the same, and nothing like himself at all. He wore dark jeans and a fitted white shirt, sleeves rolled up, collar slightly open. Casual. Effortless. But his eyes, they weren't casual. They locked on mine the second he stepped in, and the look he gave me, God, I felt it in my stomach. Not polite. Not friendly. Hungry. He smiled, warm and easy, like this was just another evening. Hey, he said, his voice low and direct. Good to see you. I stood because I had to do something with the way my legs were shaking. You too, I managed, heat blooming in my chest. She moved beside him, resting a hand lightly on his arm. I told her everything, she said. He didn't break eye contact with me. Good. That one word made something electric shoot through me. There was no pretending now. No veil. I was standing in front of two people who wanted me, not just hypothetically, not in some vague, abstract way. They had talked about me, imagined me, and now they were inviting me into it. The room felt smaller. The lighting softer. My body impossibly aware of itself. She reached out and took my hand. Come here, she said. I didn't resist. She led me to the couch again, but this time she sat close, so close our thighs touched. Jason sat across from us, elbows on his knees, watching. He looked at her, then at me. Slowly. Thoughtfully. And then she said the words I never thought I'd hear from her mouth. Touch her. My breath caught. I stared at her, then at him. Only if she wants me to, he said, his voice like silk. And the terrifying, thrilling truth was, I did. God help me, I did. I don't know how long I sat there. Heart pounding, breath shallow, skin alive with a pulse I couldn't control. The couch beneath me felt like it might melt. Her hand still held mine, fingers softly tangled, as if anchoring me through the impossible. Jason didn't move. Not right away. He waited. Watched. And there was something deeply disarming in the way he held still, like he was offering himself to me without saying a word. I nodded. Barely. A whisper of motion. But it was enough. He rose slow and fluid and crossed the space between us. He didn't sit. He stood in front of me, close but not touching, letting the air between us tremble. His fingers brushed a loose strand of hair from my face, lightly, reverently. That one touch sent heat spiraling down my spine. Okay, he murmured. I nodded again. My voice was gone. His hand moved, tentative and sure, along my jawline, knuckles grazing my cheek. My skin responded instantly, a wave of goosebumps rising in its wake. He wasn't rushing. He was reading me. Every blink. Every inhale. I felt her behind me, her presence a gentle pressure against my back. She hadn't let go of my hand. If anything, her grip tightened just slightly when his fingers found the curve of my shoulder. You're beautiful, he said. His voice didn't waver. She leaned in and whispered at my ear, her breath a warm shiver across my skin. Now you see why I couldn't keep him all to myself. It was surreal, like I was standing on the edge of a cliff I'd built myself, brick by brick, over years of boundaries and polite distance, and I was about to leap. Or be pulled. Jason knelt in front of me, eyes level with mine, and his hand slid to my waist, slow and respectful, giving me every chance to stop him. But I didn't. I couldn't. Something in me had already broken open, and the flood had begun. And then her hand. Not hers. It moved from mine to my thigh, gentle at first, then firmer, grounding. Her lips brushed the shell of my ear. "I want to watch you fall," she whispered. "Let go for once." And I did. I leaned forward, not toward her, not toward him, but into the impossible space between us. That's when he kissed me. Not hard. Not rushed. Just enough to make the world fall away. Just enough to leave me breathless. Her breath caught audibly behind me. I felt her smile before I saw it. And that's when I realized. This wasn't about him. It never was. It was about us. And I had no idea where that would lead. I felt her hand slide up my back as he kissed me again. Deeper this time, slower, like he was memorizing the taste of a moment we weren't supposed to be having. Every nerve inside me lit up like a fuse. But it wasn't just him. It was her too. She moved closer behind me, and I felt the warmth of her body pressed lightly against mine. My breath caught when I realized she wasn't just watching. She was joining. Her fingertips traced the curve of my spine, and I shivered from the inside out. I was caught, tethered between two kinds of fire. Jason's hand slid to my lower back, holding me steady as her lips touched the edge of my shoulder. I gasped softly, the heat of them both curling into the center of me. My mind couldn't keep up with my body, with the way it responded to both of them. What was this? A fantasy? A test? Or was it something deeper? Something we'd all wanted but never dared speak? Jason pulled back slightly, his forehead resting against mine. "You okay?" he whispered, his voice the gentlest thing in the room. "Yes," I breathed. But that wasn't enough. I reached for him. For her. My hand found his chest. My other reached back blindly and found her thigh. And in that triangle of touch, I felt a clarity I hadn't expected. I wanted this. Her voice hummed close to my ear. "You're shaking." "I know. I was the first time too." That stopped me. I turned just enough to see her eyes. There was vulnerability there. This wasn't power. It wasn't manipulation. It was something tender, shared, offered, trusted. "You've done this before?" I asked. She nodded barely. "But never like this." "Why me?" Her answer was immediate. "Because he looks at you the way I used to." That broke something inside me. Jason heard it too. He sat back slightly, watching her with a strange mix of guilt and hunger in his eyes. "You don't have to do this," he said softly. But she smiled. "I want to." And then turning to me she said, "We're not just giving you permission. We're asking you to come with us. To a place where everything familiar broke apart. To a night none of us could undo." She took my hand. He took the other. And together we stood. As we moved down the hallway, her ahead, him behind, I felt like I was walking into a story I hadn't written, but one that had been waiting for me all along. And just as we reached the threshold of her bedroom, she turned, framed by soft lamplight, and said with a voice low and rich with anticipation, "I want you to remember every second of this." And I knew I would. Every glance, every breath, every stolen line we were about to cross. The bedroom was dimly lit, painted in amber shadows from a single lamp in the corner. The sheets were soft gray, slightly rumpled, like the room itself had been holding its breath for this moment. Jason stood just inside the doorway behind me. She moved to the bed with a confidence that was effortless, but not performative. This wasn't a show, it was a ritual. A secret being unwrapped one layer at a time. She sat on the edge of the bed and patted the spot beside her. "Come here." My legs moved before my mind caught up. I sat next to her, pulse thrumming so loud I thought it might echo off the walls. Jason stayed quiet, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed loosely, watching us with a gaze that felt like a hand on the back of my neck. Her fingers found mine again, curling gently. Her thumb brushed across my knuckles. "Still okay?" I nodded. "More than okay." She smiled a little softer this time. "Good. Because I don't want to rush. I want this to feel like a slow burn. It already did. Then she leaned in, not toward Jason but to me. And when she kissed me, it was like a doorway swung open inside me that I didn't know existed. It wasn't a curious kiss. It wasn't experimental. It was knowing. Like she'd been waiting to touch my mouth with hers for longer than she'd admit. Her lips were warm, patient, coaxing something out of me that I hadn't allowed anyone to see. And I kissed her back. Hungrily. Desperately. I didn't care what it meant. I didn't care what would happen tomorrow. All I cared about was the taste of her breath and the sound she made when I pulled her closer. Behind us, Jason's voice broke the silence, low, reverent. God, you two are beautiful together. I pulled back, breathless, and met his eyes. Something had shifted in him. This wasn't jealousy or possession, it was awe. And something else. Need. He stepped closer. She didn't look at him. She looked at me. Do you want him to touch you? She asked. My answer was in the way I turned to face him. He approached slowly as though he knew that once he touched me, something inside all three of us would change forever. He reached for me, not forcefully, not hesitantly, but with a kind of reverence I hadn't expected. And when his hand met my skin, everything stopped. Time. Thought. Doubt. It was just sensation. Heat. The electric knowledge of being wanted by both of them. Not in spite of who I was, but because of it. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. And she whispered, lips brushing my ear. Now you're ours. And in that moment I belonged to the night. I don't remember falling backward onto the bed, but somehow I was there, surrounded by warmth and breath and the low hum of something forbidden finally unfolding. Jason's touch wasn't rushed. Every movement felt deliberate, exploratory. His fingertips traced the line of my collarbone as though it held some secret only he and she could decipher. He kissed my shoulder with a kind of patience that made me ache. And she was beside me, propped on one elbow, her eyes tracking every movement he made. Not with jealousy but fascination. Like this was her fantasy taking shape and I was part of it. No, I was it. The curve of her smile deepened as she leaned in to kiss me again, slow and hungry, while his hands explored the space just below my ribs. The way their touches overlapped, alternating, echoing, made it impossible to tell where one sensation ended and the next began. For the first time, I wasn't dividing myself into halves. I wasn't playing polite guest or quiet observer. I was fully in it, wrapped in the pulse of two people who had carefully, deliberately invited me into something intimate and unspeakably complex. But just when I thought I was drifting into pure sensation, into a place where thought no longer mattered, she whispered something that changed everything. She was my first. Jason froze. I blinked, turning toward her slowly, breath still caught between two heartbeats. What? She pulled back just slightly, eyes flickering with something that wasn't quite fear, but close. I never told you. Not really. We were young. Stupid. But she was. My first. Her gaze dropped. And I think I never really let that go. Jason sat back slowly and I could see it, the way her confession hit him. Not because he didn't know but because I didn't. She looked at me, eyes bright with something raw. I didn't ask you here just for him. I asked you here for me. The air cracked between us. My mind was spinning now, pieces clicking into place. The lingering looks, the way she always touched me when she laughed, the protective edge she got around other women in my life. It hadn't been just about sharing him. It had never been. You still feel something for me, I said, barely a whisper. She nodded. I never stopped. Jason stood slowly, hands on his hips, exhaling like he'd been holding that breath for years. I should give you two a minute. No, she said quickly, reaching for his hand. You're part of this. You both are. But everything inside me was unraveling. This wasn't just a shared night anymore. It was a confession. A desire that had been quietly simmering for years under layers of friendship, boundaries, and carefully drawn lines. And now those lines were gone. Burned away. And I didn't know if I was falling into something beautiful or breaking something sacred. I need a second, I said, rising to my feet, my legs barely holding me steady. Her voice followed, soft but urgent. Please don't walk away. I paused in the doorway, back turned, heart pounding. I'm not walking away, I said. But if we do this, there's no going back. and the silence behind me was deafening. Until she whispered, "I know. I don't want to go back." I stood at the edge of her bedroom, one hand on the doorframe, the other clenched into my side as if holding myself together. My breath was shallow. Every part of me felt like it had been cracked open. Every truth exposed under the weight of her confession. She hadn't invited me just to explore a shared fantasy. She'd invited me because I was the unfinished story. And now Jason knew it too. He stood in the middle of the room, silent, eyes moving between the two of us. Not angry, not even surprised. Just still. Like someone watching a moment he wasn't sure he belonged to anymore. She stepped toward me slowly, cautiously, like I was something delicate. Breakable. "I should have told you sooner," she said. "But I didn't want to lose you." "You never lost me," I said, my voice barely holding. "You just never asked if I wanted to stay." The room went quiet. And then Jason spoke. His voice was low, steady. "So ask her now." I turned. She met my eyes. And for the first time she looked afraid. Not of the night. Not of the consequences. Afraid I'd say no. So I walked back into the room. Step by step. Past Jason. Toward her. She didn't move. Her eyes were glassy now, uncertain. She was always the confident one, the wild one, the daring one. But in that moment, she looked like a girl still carrying the memory of a kiss we once shared. Long before either of us knew what it meant. I stood in front of her. "Do you want me?" Her breath hitched. "Yes. All of me." She nodded. "Always." I looked at Jason. "And you?" His answer was a quiet, unwavering yes. There was no script for what came next. No defined roles. Just instinct and tension and the slow surrender of everything we'd tried to keep in neat little boxes. I kissed her first. Not like before. Not careful. Not questioning. This was an answer. And when I felt Jason behind me, his hands on my waist, his breath warm against my neck, it wasn't competition. It was harmony. The three of us melted into each other slowly, reverently, like we were building something with every breath, every touch, every glance. There were no words. Just sounds. Whispers. Fingers tracing stories across skin. We stayed like that for hours. No roles. No ownership. Just release. Connection. Honesty so naked it didn't need to be spoken. When the light of morning broke across the sheets, soft and golden, none of us moved. I lay between them, her head resting on my shoulder, his hand on my hip, and all I could feel was stillness. Peace. Not because we had figured it all out, but because for the first time we had stopped pretending. This wasn't just about desire or curiosity. It was about the pieces of ourselves we'd hidden, and the night we gave them to each other. If you've ever been in a moment that changed everything, drop a comment below. Would you have stayed? Would you have walked away? Make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. I read every one of them. And if you think this story was wild, just wait for the next confession.